electrified. 한국 Tire.
We're getting into the business end of the Hyundai N Festival Global League 2022, and that means we've got just 4 races to go. It's our second trip to North America, and this time both the races are taking place in the glorious USA. Our first round will be at Lime Rock Park, followed by a shootout at Daytona. Hello again, everyone. My name's Will Vincent. That guy over there is Connery Maddock. Hi, Connery. How's it going?
Yeah, I'm doing absolutely fine. I'm super hyped to get this penultimate event of the Hyundai N Festival Global League for 2022 started. We are quickly getting towards the very end of our season, so this is going to be crunch time for these drivers. Not a lot of rounds to get those crucial points on the board.
Yeah, let's have a look then at the series as ever. Thank you very much to the Hyundai Motor Company for sanctioning this series, as well as the Korean Automobile Racing Association. 2 races, 10 minutes of qualifying, 20 minutes worth of racing in each, and we've got 27 drivers participating. We've got 3 invite drivers and 2 drivers from 12 different nations. And the most important part, of course, as we get towards the end of the season, we're not far away from determining who is going to win 10,000 USD and also tickets to the Hyundai World Rally Championship Hospitality Experience, including free travel. And we've got to remember as well, Connery, that bottom line, the country prize, it's been United Kingdom almost dominating this series. They could well also split 2,000 USD.
Yeah, could be a decent payday for those particular drivers, but it all depends on what happens in these final 2 events. This is how a race day is organized. We got 10 minutes of open qualifying, followed by a 20-minute race. That's going to be the same for both of the races here today. The point system in the Drivers' Championship, 25 points to the race winner, and the points are scored all the way down to 15th place. Those points count both for the Drivers' Championship and indeed the Country Championship as well.
Yeah, it was great to see India scoring their first points on the championship 2 weeks ago. We've got almost all the drivers off the line. We're really hoping to see all the drivers escape the nil point situation in terms of the championship. But again, note 25 points for the race victor. That is going to be important. That 5-point difference between P1, P2, the 9-point gap between P1 and P number 3. That's what we've got to look at here today. And again, the qualifying, the race starts, we'll talk about that one as we move forward, because now we've got 2 races. The first one, Lime Rock Park, and then the second one, we go under the lights to Daytona International Speedway and to the road course. Hey, Connery, it's like we're back in January all over again.
Yeah, absolutely. I am looking forward to that round number 8 because, you know, Daytona is sort of raced a little differently compared to most normal circuits. It's definitely a draft fest. It's definitely one of those wild card rounds that we'll talk about where theoretically maybe anyone inside the top 10 can get themselves to the checkered flag first because the draft keeps everyone close together. So the only time that absolute lap time will matter, it'll be an open qualifying, and even that's affected by the draft because, well, it's not solo. Everyone's out there trying to get their lap times done, so the teamwork is going to be absolutely crucial in that race as well, that qualifying.
And the rolling start as well, that's going to be important. Let's have a look then at this beautiful Hyundai Elantra NTC 1988cc, 350 brake horsepower at 7,000 RPM, torque 450 Nm at 3,500 RPM, and of course it is a turbocharged 4-cylinder inline transversely installed. That is a look at the number 93 car. You can see Kieran Harrison, who has been absolutely phenomenal all season long, except for one race he had some difficulties at last time out. And we'll talk about the championship. We're going to show you that one on your screen any moment now. It really has been a battle between Kieran Harrison and Thomas Gibson, the 93 and the 04 cars, both representing the United Kingdom, but they are not the only two in the mix. You still got the likes of Corentin Gunes. You still have the opportunity, if the Korean drivers pull themselves up the field, they can still make a bit of an impact. There's our drivers though. Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, France, Germany and India. We've got drivers running from around the world. And I've got a very big feeling here. The Canadians, they had a great time out last time. The Canadians and the American drivers were on their pretty much home territory. I've got a feeling they're going to be really good here today, Connery.
Yeah, they certainly have the potential to, but they've kind of been... the advantage, I feel, kind of has been negated a little bit because, well, it's going to be Daytona for the second race today, and like I said already, you know, everyone's in contention, so no matter how fast you are in a clear air lap at Daytona, as long as you're in it, you're there potentially to win it. So that's what the situation is going to be in about, I would say, half an hour's time, once we get this race one out of the way first. So of course, we can't really discount this race one because it is at Lime Rock Park. It is one of the quote-unquote rookie tracks of this the entirety of iRacing, so the drivers should very much be familiar with it. There's the drivers' points. It's 6 points between the two UK folks at the very front, Kieran Harrison and Thomas Gibson. Corentin Gunes actually not too far behind in the grand scheme of things. A good day here today could set up the Frenchman for the championship in the final event.
And we saw what happened at round number 5, Kieran Harrison losing some points, and that's made it very, very interesting between himself and his countryman, Thomas Gibson. But then Corentin Gunes, as she says, in the mix. Marius Gonnenbeck in the mix as well. Yeah, 4 core drivers, top 4 in the championship. I mean, you can still theoretically go all the way down to about P14 in the championship in terms of who's active. But realistically, let's say you've got maybe 8 drivers still within a realistic shot of winning the championship. And from that, realistically, it might well come down now to Harrison, Gibson, Gunes and Gonnenbeck, unless there is some catastrophic errors by those 4 here today. 228 points for the United Kingdom over France. And I'm just doing the maths in my head. We've got 100 points to go. The United Kingdom could win the country standings by the end of today. So one championship might well be wrapped up before we even get to Championship Sunday in a fortnight's time. China are yet to get off the board in the country standings. That's partially because they've had some difficulties participating in this series. What I'm also looking to do is hopefully see some of the invite drivers getting themselves some points here today. It's good to note that Lovely Cha is back after having COVID-19 a couple of weeks ago, and we've got ourselves a new driver, and this is a very exciting one. We know him well at RaceSpotTV, but it's Tyler Maxson for the United States, who, just to get this one out of the way, will not be scoring points, I believe, for the United States. However, will be running by himself. Talk about more in that one in a moment. Lucky dip options for this race were a pit stop, fastest lap, or points fastest lap, or points for pole position. And of course, we're going to have a lucky dip for the next round as well. And it's always voted by you, the fans, on social media and on Twitter. And after having a three-way tie a couple of weeks ago, this time it was an absolutely overwhelming vote for the mandatory pit stop. It says a minimum of one tyre change. Realistically, they're going to change 2 tyres. It's just the way it works in terms of the pit stops for these Hyundais. And that is going to be at Daytona in a little bit's time later on. And that means, Connery, you've got to slow down from pretty fast to 55 miles an hour, navigate into your pit stall, do a tyre change, go back to the pit lane speed limit, then accelerate out of the pit lane.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very tricky. Of course, that will come when Daytona arrives, but we have to get Lime Rock Park out of the way first. It is a very, very short circuit. It feels like we've gone to so many very short circuits over the course of this season, but this one only has around about 52, 53 seconds in terms of the lap times that these guys have been pulling off in the practice sessions. So just shy of 2.5 kilometers long, just 7 turns. We're at the classic layout as well here, Will. So without the chicane that they introduced to make that sort of rise over the crest a little bit tamer, but we're not using that. We're using the full quote-unquote old layout where they absolutely fly through that middle sector.
We're going old school here tonight. I'm really looking forward to it. And for me, that first ever challenge on iRacing was actually Lime Rock. As we have a look at the drivers, hello again, lovely Cha-Cha. Great to see you after being away a couple of weeks ago. You've got Marius Gollenbeck, top left-hand side of your screen. You've got Kieran Harrison on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. All the drivers all rocking their Hyundai uniforms. A little bit of stretching going on for one of your Brazilian drivers. Always great to see the different rigs and setups as well. There's our third screen. We've got one person currently AWOL. They'll be back in the car before qualifying is ready to go. We guarantee you that one. Yeah, the first challenge you have, Connery, on iRacing is normally at Lime Rock Park historically. And of course, not in a Hyundai. It's in another car. We won't mention it, but your first challenge is always to try and get a lap time around here in less than 1 minute. And I remember the first time I joined iRacing, thought, oh, this is going to be easy. No, it wasn't. It took me a good couple of days to get below that 1 minute boundary. But these guys, let's say, they're going to be doing 52, 53 second laps, possibly faster. Now we're into qualifying.
We absolutely are here, Will, and there they are out there on circuit. There's the German driver of Marius Gollenbeck leading all of the core machines out. Of course, they've been known to, well, keep themselves together in qualifying just to help each other out in terms of the slipstream. Of course, they can only do so much because the stewards have told them, be careful about it, because if you're organising a little bit too much with the slingshots, then that is a penalisable offence. But as long as everything's above board, everything's fine with them just happening to come out of the pit lane altogether, more than slowing up for each other. But it's a 10-minute qualifying session here, Will, and it's, like you said, a sub-minute lap time, so there's going to be ample opportunity to get lap times in. I doubt we'll see many, if any, people not set themselves any time at all.
Yeah, and the key point to note is actually, compared to other tracks that we've had this season about drafting, you've only really got 1 or 2 places where the draft is going to be helpful. Track position is more important as we see a core car go completely off at turn number 1. Track position is far more important. That was Thomas Gibson from the United Kingdom. He's now into a bit of a traffic pack, which is what I was going to lend myself into. So thank you very much, Thomas Gibson, for actually, emphasizing my point. Track position is so much more important, because if you've got a driver even half a second slower than you, you're really going to feel the effects of that up through this section of the track, and then especially over the crest on the last 2 corners. We're on board with Jake Maloney.
Indeed, we are up over the crest. You've got to be so careful. If you have any sort of steering angle in as the car goes light over the top of the hill there, you're going to be in for a pretty bad time, because as soon as that car grips up, then you're going to spear off in one direction or another. So you've got to hold the wheels straight coming up over the crest, and hope and pray your trajectory is correct once the car settles itself out. But Jake Maloney across the line, 54 seconds, which gets him on the board at least. It's not quick at all, but of course that's kind of what we expected, given that these tyres will take a little bit, multiple laps to get themselves into the right operating window. So just count the first 2 laps as sort of 2 out laps.
And don't worry, there is actually no One Direction band, no Harry Styles, etc. in this race. We've got Goomin Kim, however, from South Korea, the number 23 car. The Koreans have been really, really good in qualifying for the majority of this season. Yes, at the start of the season, they did fall foul of the rules relating warming up your tyres, but apart from that, they have been very, very good. Currently P4 for Goomin Kim. As we go on board of him, show you his webcam right now, as I keep on forgetting it's dark in the UK. You can see through the window, it is actually morning in South Korea. I think it's about 6-7 o'clock in the morning Korean time. And Goomin Kim right now just working himself up to this cresting section of the track. Over the bump you go. Holds it nicely. That little bit of runoff there, just as you work through the corner, can be such a lifesaver into the final two corners underneath the Haggerty Bridge. Then for Goomin Kim, currently 0.6 of a second back from Thomas Gibson, who is leading the way in terms of qual right now. And Goomin Kim past the start-finish line. Well, that is going to be a 53.023. That will put him currently P4.
Still lots of time left in the session to be able to improve on that position. Gibson does take the provisional pole position. He's the only driver in the 52.8, although I say that his teammate does join him, so does Guinness as well. So Guinness towards the top of the qualifying order at this relatively early stage. Statements being made by the Core Sim Racing guys. Brandon Hawkin, what a race that he had at Okayama, for example. He really came to a forefront, did the Canadian. Of course, he was, trying to pull off the strategy, going relatively long, trying to keep all those cars behind him with the track position. Didn't quite work out in terms of a maximum point score, but at least he showed what he was made of amongst these top Hyundai drivers.
Yeah, indeed so. And for Hawkin even, he did say that he seemed to have unlocked something in the setup that would have helped him. So if he'd done it in Okayama, it'll probably work well here at this racetrack because of the nature of the corners around here. It's not a fast track, it's a flowing track, it's a momentum track, and that's Kieran Harrison being pushed off. Now, there are some rules about this. If he has to escape back to the pit road, he has to ask for permission from race control, because of the fact that we're basically working this as if it is a real series. You can't just escape out your car, do a little bit of rage quitting and go back on. But for Kieran Harrison, for Thomas Gibson even, he's going to have a nice little word of race control, because it did look as though he had nowhere really to go, as we're looking now at Brandon Hawkin in the number 99 car representing Canada. 0.2 of a second back he is right now from the pole position. And, well, Hawkin coming towards the final corner.
Well, I gotta say, Harrison's not going to take any further part in this qualifying session, given he did take the tow back to the pit lane. And that means he can't come out again. Can he? He's stuck down there. He can't use the tow to gain himself an advantage here, so he's going to have to be sitting things out for the remainder of this qualifying session. So good opportunity for maybe a couple of other drivers to get themselves in and challenging for pole position. It might be one of his esports teammates, Quentin Guinness, who certainly can be the cat amongst the pigeons when it comes to that drivers' championship order, because both the British drivers had relatively rough times in separate races last time out, and Guinness has been relatively solid throughout, so he's there on sheer consistency on 100 points in third place. Again, if he finishes ahead of both British drivers here today, he can set himself up for that championship run. A little bit of a sigh there. I wonder if he got himself an off track through that final corner. It is faster in terms of lap time. It's 52.770, and it did not count, in fact, as his actual lap time is a 52.773 still.
Yeah, so gained a tiny bit, but lost it because of the off-track. And we'll talk about off-tracks when we go to Daytona as well. We had a question in the driver's briefing about bump drafting, because you are allowed to bump draft at Daytona. You just can't get yourself what we call a 0x. Any incident will invalidate your lap in qualifying. So going off-track is the biggest one. If you decide to go off-track and get yourself what we call a 1x, then your lap will be invalidated. What it basically means is you can't basically do some dirty little shortcuts around the track. As we go on board with Jahi Han coming on towards pit road with 2 minutes 50 seconds to go. Maybe going to get himself a bit of fuel, because I'd actually prefer to keep the tyres nice and hot right now. It's Harrison from Gunes, from Gibson, from Han, from Hawkin, Gallenbeck, then Kim, Ponasek, Valero and Maxim. That's the best qualifying we've had so far by an invite driver. Tyler Maxson currently inside the top 10, and he, of course, is a driver for Hyundai in the number 77 Brian Herter Autosport Elantra N TCR and the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge. So he kind of knows this car. He does also say that he likes to be aggressive, knows when to push, knows when to conserve the car. We could be looking at Maxson having a great race here.
Yeah, well, we absolutely could, and we might be seeing our first Hyundai invite driver score points. That would be absolutely fantastic. Of course, you know, the Hyundai N drivers, the invite drivers, they're not counted as their own separate country in this one, so unfortunately they can't compete for any prizes. But for Tyler Maxson, there he is out there getting his qualifying underway, and we can see his lovely face. Usually we see him sort of behind the scenes here at RaceSpot instead of in front of the cameras, so it's good to see him there, and that's a very expensive fan in the background as well. Those fans are not cheap whatsoever.
I know, I've got one, and I can't use it on broadcast because of the fact that they make a little bit too much noise. But you know what? I love his uniform as well. He gets the option to wear white rather than blue because, you know, that's his uniform anyway. But Maxson currently P number 10. We're getting to the business end of qualifying. We're going to have just about a minute remaining. So 2 laps actually, because the lap times here are so short. 2 laps to go potentially for Corentin Gunes. Again, a sigh out the final corner. He's not happy with the way he exits that final corner. That was a 52.911, so slower than what he did previously, but now he's got traffic ahead of him as well, so he's going to have to try and push, but make sure any of these cars ahead of him don't slow him down on the second half of the lap. The checkered flag will come out in just over 30 seconds time, and of course the lap that you are on, you are allowed to complete. So Gunes then working himself over the crest. He can't slow down, because if he slows down, he won't get that extra lap in the books. The car ahead of him almost hitting the Armco barrier on the left-hand side of the track. So for Gunes, let's see, how bold is he going to be here? Through the final corner, arcs in nicely, arcs out nicely. But is he going to get himself a faster time? We're going to find out in about 2 seconds' time. Nowhere near. 53.145 there.
He crossed the line just in time, I think, to get this next lap in. Tyler Maxson goes for a drift on the outside of the corner. There's been a bit of a situation ahead as well with cars out into the grass, so Guinness should actually be able to get an extra lap in. He crossed the line with about 1 second to go. Remember, the start-finish line is relatively far down the pit straight here. That'll give some interesting drafting opportunities coming out of the final corner for a potential photo finish at the end of this one. Jay Hee-han looking to try and complete a lap here. It is Harrison, Guinness, Gibson, Hahn in that order in terms of qualifying. So can the number 92 shake things up inside those podium spots at the moment? Second row start, still not too bad at all here.
So Jahi Han then coming down for his final corner in qualifying. There's no one really going to be impacting him as he comes out that final corner. Drivers coming on towards pit road, and in fact Jahi Han coming on towards pit road as well. That is qualifying pretty much in the books. We're going to run through your starting grid rather quickly here today because we've got ourselves something else we want to talk about before we go green for this round number 7 of the championship. So there's a look at this wonderful Lime Rock Park circuit, and at this point I'm hoping Mr. Producer is going to put up the starting grid, and there we are. Kieran Harrison, pole position, 52.679 for the United Kingdom. Corentin Gunes, 3rd place in the championship, 2nd place on the road here today. Then let's have a look. We're going to get everything up and running in just a moment's time, Connery. Let's ad-lib. Da-da-da-da-da.
Don't worry, I can read it from iRacing itself. So Thomas Gibson in P3 with Jay Hee-han in P4. Brandon Hawkin starts in 6th place today with Marius Gollenbeck in... Gollenbeck in 6th place. Gyumin Kim in 7th place here to start with. Polasek in 8th, Girl Valero in P9. Maxson will start in 10th with T in P11 and Miranda lining up in that 12th spot.
Yep, let's go back then. P number 13 on track here today, as I'm just waiting for my starting grid to go through, is Jake Blackhall. Mackenzie Cornies in P14, Jake Maloney P15, Fabio Zampolini 16th, Roberto Ferrari and makes it an all-row 9 for Italy, Simone Medica and P number 18. Rest of those qualifying results going to come through on your screen right about now. Zhou Jiang then invite driver P number 20. Lovely Cha-Cha, unfortunately, towards the rear of the field, and P number 25. But let's talk about some prizes. You can win up to 28 prizes here today. All you need to do is go to Instagram and follow Hyundai_N_festival. Then toddle over to our YouTube feed, which you're probably watching right now, and put a message in the live chat. It can be anything you want, so long as you don't get your comment blocked or deleted, you can enter. We've got AirPods Pros, 5 pairs of them to give away. We've got 3 bits of merch from Hyundai to give away, and we've got 15... Sorry, we've got more than that. We've got $15 iRacing gift cards. We've got 20 of them to give away. And you've got until the end of the broadcast to enter, Connery. So, nice little prizes before we go green here.
Yeah, we do. And, well, we've got to have a race to get itself underway. But, yeah, fantastic prizes that they can win. And, well, just about in time. We've got the green flag here at Lime Rock Park for the penultimate event of the season.
Yep, in towards turn number 1 then for the first time, and it looks like one of the Korean drivers has gone off already. So, incidents down at turn number 1, that is Jae Han in the number 92 Korean car, falling all the way down the field early on. And well, I was wondering whether a driver was going to push wide at turn number 1. The driver's briefing for this was very simple. The track is narrow, be careful. For Jae Han, he wasn't careful enough down into that first corner. Unfortunately, as a consequence of that, he is now well down the field. But it is Gibson who is leading the way right now as they work themselves almost already down to the end of our first lap here today. Corentin Gunez in P number 2. And you've got to ask the question, you've got to wonder, are they going to work together? That's Gollenbeck off track then at the final corner.
Yeah, drivers having trouble. I think this is sort of cold tyre syndrome at the moment after the race starts. It happened to Hahn. It seems to have happened here for Gollenbeck as he had to push all the way around wide at the final corner. Now he's got the driver of Polasek right on his rear end. There's Guman Kim in that DCT racing car looking to try and get himself involved early on. Overtaking opportunities are kind of a bit at a premium here at Lime Rock Park, but so we're riding on board with Guman Kim as he swings his way in towards that fast right-hander. Over the top of the hill they go. Car gets very light. You got to be careful with the steering inputs, but these drivers should indeed be competent enough to handle all of that. Guman Kim getting himself into the grass a little bit, getting the car unstable, but able to keep it in one piece.
The drafters, and that's Marcel T going wide at the final corner that time around. The draft isn't going to be as important as what we've seen in rounds previously. It's Harrison leading by almost half a second over Corentin Gunez. Gibson 3rd, Hawkin 4th, Gollenbeck 5th right now. We've had a couple of drivers out early in this race, so attrition's actually a lot higher than what we normally see. But down on this mid-pack, it's rather difficult sometimes. We get a replay of what happened down at turn number 1. I don't see any contact there, but that's Jae Han going all the way wide down at that first corner, and you see 2 wide there between one of the Italian and Brazilian drivers as well. But we go back to live pictures, and now we are looking at Brandon Hawkin in the number 99 car, battling it out with Thomas Gibson. And of course, the question's going to be asked here, is Gunez going to play nicely with his teammate? And Gibson right now in 3rd place cannot allow Hawkin to get past of him because of his position in the championship. It's great to see Hawkin having another good race here after what basically was his standout performance last time out.
Yep, scoring 13 points last time. That is the highest points that he has scored in any race, and that was finishing P4, so just outside of the podium spots there for Brandon Hawkin. He'll be desperate to get his feet on that 3rd step of the podium, and, well, doesn't necessarily care about Thomas Gibson's championship hopes. So you have to be quite selfish in races like this.
You do, indeed. as just having a look through your field and say we've had a number of drivers out this race. Lovely Charger seems to be out, and a couple of others as well. Patanek, Jang and Murado all out of the race early on here today. So this is the great battle going on for third place, final podium spot in this event going on. And I will say that whilst Gibson is fighting with Hawkin, they've already lost a second and a half to your Joy out front, and Harrison is pulling away as well from Gunez, as we've got a battle going on between Miranda and Valero as well for 8th place on track. So you've got the number 33 French driver running in 8th place, Victor Miranda in the number 17 Brazilian car running in 9th spot. The other Brazilian driver, Zampolini, is the one that we saw battling it out with one of the Italian drivers early on in this event. But now we turn our attention over to that number 33 car of Valero. Victor Miranda is in 9th place. We're going to go on board of him, hopefully, as they work down the front straight away. You see just how wide they are pushing themselves out of that final corner. Now, incident points, we haven't really talked about it this season, but this being a long race and people pushing themselves wide at that final corner, there could well be one or two drivers potentially falling foul of the incident point rules. You can see so much bump drafting there by Miranda over Valero.
Yeah, it's they're getting into each other a relatively large amount, aren't they? I mean, this is touring car racing after all, and it seems to have not ended in tears just yet in this one. We've got ourselves 15 minutes left in this race to go. Harrison still leading by 0.8 of a second at the very front there as we look at this battle involving Valero and Miranda, and you can count T and Maxon in this as well. Here's the onboard with Miranda, focused as ever, a bit of lip biting as well. I know a lot of drivers do that as they try to focus on the car ahead of them, and their lines coming through the corners. It's funny sometimes how many faces drivers make on their Zoom calls when they're actually racing.
Oh, I have people that bite their lip. There's people, scratching their face all the time. Everything goes on at once. Live timing and scoring, by the way, is available. Different address for today. It's RaceSpot.TV/timing and the number 3. We do apologise for the issues that we had with our normal live timing and scoring when we got it up and running for you, so you can follow your favourite driver throughout the course of this race. I will say, I love the fact that we're using the classic layout. I don't like how the chicane really slows drivers, and it doesn't really present a massive overtaking opportunity. But again, half these drivers seem to be less running a Hyundai and trying to do a bit of lawn mowing instead, as we turn our attention back to the number 99 car of Hawkin, still scrapping it out with Gibson. The gap between P1 and 2, and then 3rd and 4th, now up to 2 seconds.
Yeah, so that rift between those drivers getting bigger and bigger. So Harrison and Guinness certainly running away from the rest of them in this situation, leaving Gibson to his own devices, really, to try and deal with a very quick, it seems, Brandon Hawkin behind him, looking to try and score yet more points for Canada. I've been very, very impressed with his performances so far this season, especially in that previous event. So Gibson, he won't have it easy here. We've already seen how Hawkin would absolutely love to try and get himself involved here. It's so crucial, though, to get yourself that run out of that final corner to open up that opportunity on the brakes in towards turn number 1. Right now, Hawkins just not quite following close enough to make that happen.
We're going to talk about Kieran Harrison, though, in that number 93 car, because he has legitimately pulled out an almost 1 second advantage. In fact, now it is over a second compared to Corentin Gunez in the number 03 car representing France. And it seems to be that Harrison has gotten himself fully into championship beast mode right now, because this is one of the most dominant drives that we've seen all season on pure pace alone. Gunez running a little bit wide as I worked through turn number 5 that time by, but nothing much, nothing important to note. Kieran Harrison, however, is just absolutely flying, and to pull out a second advantage in a car like this, in a race like this, with a competition like this is going to be, in my opinion, if Harrison wins a championship, this is that championship drive for me he's doing right now.
Yeah, this is incredible pace for the number 93. I mean, Guinness is trying to keep him honest there in second place, but you just see that gap now just easing around the second mark. So Yeah, it's going to be very, very unlikely that Guinness is going to be able to do anything about his teammate there at the very front of the field. We're continuing to ride on boards, though, with Hawkin. And, well, Hawkin, he's doing every trick in the book at the moment. He's applying as much pressure to the back of Gibson as is physically possible in these TCR machines, but he's still not making Gibson crack under that sort of pressure whatsoever. So Gibson's been very, very clean through these corners, and, well, as long as he can do that for the remaining 11 minutes, he'll still be able to come across the line in P3. But that's a better run through the final corner, though, for Brandon Hawkin. So more like that, and he might have a better opportunity.
We're on board with Tyler Maxson in the number 77 Hyundai N invite car. Right now, he's got himself Marcel T ahead of him. Maxson's lost one position so far in this race, and that was to Marcel T a little bit earlier at the start of this event. But now we can see the Huizenveld car just ahead, and Maxson looks like he was much better on the brakes into turn number 2. But because of the way this track is so narrow, you really have just one or two overtaking opportunities. The biggest one is into turn number 1. You're going to have to be really aggressive to make a move here into turn number 6. There's Marcel T again going very wide down at turn number 5 there. Maxson looking very calm with that lovely air blade working just behind of him, but not a good run out of turn number 7 there. That's actually put him about a tenth of a second further back, but as they come past the start-finish line, Maxson, again, just going to have to follow the leader. Oh, look at that! 3 wide in towards turn number 1. Jahi Han up the middle then, and you got the TTR Esports car on the left-hand side, the number 31 on the outside. What was going on there between Han, Maloney and Blackwell? That was absolutely crazy.
That was crazy, and actually, if it was Roberto Ferrari there, the Italian car that was involved in that one in the 91. So that's, yeah, that's great. I have no idea what triggered that as well. Here we go. Han's going to go for a move once again. Around the outside at the fast right hand, and that's so sketchy, Will. They almost both had a humongous incident as Han goes down towards the inside. It's a bit of a shove coming through the middle of the corner as Maloney has to push wide. He might even lose the position to Ferrari as well as he sticks it down in there.
Incredible racing here in the Hyundai NE Festival Global League 2022. Han, of course, let's not forget, he's the work driver who pushed wide down at turn number 1 at lap number 1. We've got the TTR Esports car on Maloney going side by side with Roberto Ferrari in the number 91 machine. So they're still dicing it up, and they're bringing everyone else behind them into the mix as well. That is for P14, 15, the last 2 point paying positions in this race, and because they're fighting, well, Han's able to pull away just a little bit and they continue to go side by side. But that number 29 car of Maloney able to get ahead once again, and now you got Medica thinking about going alongside his countrymen. This has really brought that last point paying position pack into picture, and that was great racing. 3 wide, twice, 2 laps in a row, and they all kept it on track as well.
Yeah, I was so scared when they went 2 wide through the right-hand kink up the hill. That is a very sketchy move, and there's a big look to the inside for Mackenzie Cornish. So he's locked onto this battle as well. He's trying to apply the pressure to Modica in that second Italian Proto Drive, Sim Sport car. And, well, Cornish this time relatively unsuccessful. His fellow countryman further up the order, still yet to try and get past Thomas Gibson, but still scoring some good points for Canada. Remember, this in and around this region right now is the points for the last position. So that is the P15, where you get 1 point. All these drivers trying to scrap over it. That's in P14.
Yeah, and Corny's normally is a little bit further up in the field. That number 42 driver really aggressive on the inside curb through turn number 7. That gives him a good run, but you see, oh, look at that. He's going to go all the way ultra inside. I'd call that, in my opinion, 2 defensive moves going on there as well by the number 91 car of Ferrari, because Corny's had to basically go down to the inside, then down into the inside further as the pit exit basically disappeared. And I'll tell you what, good heads-up driving, though, by the 16th place driver right now, I say 17th place driver of Cornish, as the country standings now up on the left-hand side, the right-hand side of your screen. 269 points for the United Kingdom. They They are basically 4 points away from winning the country championship with 3 rounds to go.
Yeah, that's so corners out into the grass though, coming up through the final sector, looking to get the drive off the final corner, and well, he might be able to make something of it. He goes immediately all the way to the inside. Now he has a little bit of an overlap in towards turn 1, so that does increase the chances of this move happening, and it happens relatively easy through the corner. Corners just has to get the car stopped, and he's got that position on lockdown. Ooh, committed to the exit of the corner a little bit too much. There's a little bit of a shove from the 20, so Bodica really getting into things here, quite literally, but can't get that position back.
And of course, whilst they're doing that, they've actually lost time on the road. A second now to Ferrari. So yes, they're scrapping for P16. That's all great, but they've lost what is the bigger prize, and maybe getting a point in this race. Roberto Ferrari in the number 91 car has pulled out almost a second advantage over these two, but the draft can come away very quickly. It's Polisek and Kim going side by side in towards turn number 1. Polisek using the car to go around the inside in towards turn number 2, has the line. Kim might get the inside into turn number 3, and in fact that's exactly what he's done. The full send car, well, going a little bit wide there down on the exit of turn 3, and that's cost him a position. So move Polisek back down to P number 7 in this race, move Kim up to P6. I will say that Kim had a good start to this race, but that battle with Polisek's really taken him out of contention for the top 5.
Yeah, it really has, and well, I don't think there's going to be much movement with regards to that now in the final 5 minutes that this event has to run. In fact, most of the top positions have kind of strung themselves out a little bit, except for P3 between Gibson and Hawkin. They are still relatively close on circuit together, and you can see that right now because we're looking at them. Brandon Hawkin, he's spent the entire race, it feels like, behind Thomas Gibson, but hasn't quite figured out how or where to get by, and now he's got Golombek bearing down on him.
And Golombek is one of the most calm and calculated drivers that I know in this series. So Hawkins going to now have to play a little bit of offense and a little bit of defense all at the same time. Work through in towards turn number 6. I've seen a lot of drivers use the curb on the exit of turn 7 to get the advantage. Maybe Golombek can try and do that one, but he's a little bit too far back this time by. This allows Hawkin to get himself a bit of a run himself over the 04 car of Thomas Gibson, but he still remains about half a car length back. We haven't seen any massive sends in towards turn number 1. We've seen a few, but even from half a car length back, Hawkin is playing the points game rather than just trying to get a podium position and potentially overshoot his race car as he's right on the rear then of Gibson and the 04 as they navigate through turn number 3.
Yeah, this is a lot to deal with for Thomas Gibson, and well, the track's working in his favour. Like I said, there's not that many opportunities to try and get yourself by here. Doesn't mean this is easy though. Let's just say that. Doesn't mean it's easy when you have a car so big in your wing mirrors and trying to rattle your cage, but Gibson's doing a relatively good job of it. Of course, you know, P2 is completely out of the question for him at the moment, as Guinness is a couple of seconds down the road. Gibson's only task is now to try and keep Mackenzie Corners behind him, and well, he has have a few more laps to keep at it and potentially finish in 3rd place. It, you know, helps him in his championship versus Harrison, but you know, both of the championship contenders that he's fighting with are finishing ahead of him at the moment, so it's more damage limitation.
There could be a little bit of lap traffic at the end of this race. Jae-Ho Jang's currently 40 seconds back from your leader, and a lap time around here where you're looking at about 52, 53 seconds. So there is a possibility that Jang could be going down a lap at the very end of this race. So nothing is out of the question when you put it into reality. Underneath the Haggerty Bridge, they'll come once again here. They've already done 17 laps of this race. This is how fast the pace is. This is how short the track is. As again, nowhere for Hawkin to go in towards turn number 1. Golombek also can't find a way past. We did know that this race will be a little bit more follow the leader than what you'd have at other racetracks, but having seen what we saw earlier on, by the way, Maxon just making a pass over Victor Miranda to move himself into the top 10, into the top 9 now, because he got himself past Martins LT, he's just got himself past Victor Miranda, so Case in point, you can overtake here, but it seems to be that because of how so close the setups are and the drivers are in terms of their raw pace, for Hawkin and Golombek, they can't really just find that extra little bit of an advantage out of turn 6 and 7.
Yeah, and now it's go time. They have to try and get it done in these final couple of laps here. Here's the onboard with Golombek, of course, just stepping out a little bit just to see what's going on ahead, and you know, just trying to get a little bit more situational awareness in that case for Golombek. I don't think he's going to try and well, I was going to say, I don't think he's going to try and press on forwards here, but then again, that's it's not a teammate ahead of him. It is Brandon Hawkin, and I think Golombek will try to do everything within his power to make this last few laps as easy as possible for Thomas Gibson by distracting Hawking with maybe some moves towards the inside that pumps aren't too on, and they're there just to scare the driver.
So you're actually saying that Golombek's playing rear gunner rather than necessarily trying to go for position?
Yeah, I think so as well, because, I mean, Golombek, yeah, 4th place in the championship. However, he is a good handful of points adrift of Guinness for 3rd place. And it's not necessarily a gap that can be made up in these final 4 races. So yeah, that's what I think he's doing. He's going to look towards the inside here just to get in that right-hand wing mirror, but decides to duck back in.
So we are down to what will be the white flag lap any moment now, because Barney will be getting the white flag out and he's going to start waving it. So this is the last lap of the race. It is Kieran Harrison leading from Gunes, Gibson in 3rd, Hawkin 4th, Golombek rounding out your top 5. Harrison has done an absolutely faultless drive. He is almost 2.5 seconds ahead of the field, potentially the best run of the season for any driver. Yes, you've had a bigger finish margin, but this is the biggest one done on pure pace alone. Kieran Harrison for the United Kingdom, number 93 car, claims another victory in the Hyundai N Festival Global League for 2022. Gunes will finish 2nd, Gibson will finish 3rd, Hawkin 4th, Golombek rounds out your top 5. Kim will come home in P number 6, Polisek 7th, Valero, Maxon and Miranda round out your top 10. And look at that, a Hyundai N invite driver scoring points for the first time this season.
Yeah, it's great to see Maxon get stuck in his first race of the season. Of course, we know he's a strong driver. He drives this car in the real world as well, so certainly should be very, well, at least have the pace to hang around with the mid-pack, and that's exactly what he's done here in this one. So it's great to see, but, I mean, man of the moment has to be Kieran Harrison. What a performance. That was really never in doubt since the drop of the green flag, pretty much.
Yeah, and I will call this victory there for Kieran Harrison. Possibly the most dominant victory that we have seen all season long. Really impressive for that British driver. And as I say, the United Kingdom now basically 4 points away from wrapping up the country championship, and as a consequence of that, both Harrison and Gibson have got themselves one hand on $1,000 each. Here's your race result. 23 laps here around Lime Rock Arc, and Kieran Harrison wins by almost 2.5 over Corentin Gunes from France. Thomas Gibson, 3rd place for the United Kingdom. Brandon Hawkin for Canada in 4th place. Marius Golombek for Germany rounds out your top 5. It's Grim and Kim then finishing in P6. Polisek, Valero, Miranda then further down your field. By the way, fastest lap of the day, Jahi Han in that number 92 car on lap number 7. So if that Korean driver didn't push wide at turn number 1, he could well have been fighting for a podium here today.
Yep, I mean, it's all about what ifs in motorsport, and it's the exact same thing in sim racing. Just a little bit of an overcommitment through turn 1 on cold tyres, sent him wide out into the grass, and, you know, weren't able to recover anything, or rather much of anything, since that entire situation. You see our DNFs, Patanik, Carpenter, and Lovely Cha-Cha, unfortunately, did not get themselves to the checkered flag here today. So, of those runners that were still running, though, all of them were on the leading lap, which is absolutely fantastic to see, especially at such a short track as this one. But now we look forward a little bit, of course, because we got Daytona next.
Yeah, Jahu Zhang, by the way, did finish on the lead lap. about 2 seconds. I said it was going to be close. He did finish on the lead lap. So that was interesting. I'm going to guarantee, by the way, we are not going to end up with just 3 retirees when we get to Daytona in about half an hour's time. I mean, I actually wonder whether or not we're going to have a massive crash at the end of the race. We've got so much to talk about at Daytona, which is coming up soon. But what we had today for Kieran Harrison, I always talk about championship drives of all my years commentating top level series like World Championship, etc. It's one of those things that when you have a drive like that, when you can be consistent like that, you just can't stop a driver. And for Harrison, he's leading the championship already. Then he has a victory like that. Everyone else, Harrison has done that. So now Brandon Hawkins and Corey Guinness must be thinking, what do I need to do?
Yeah, it's a big statement from Kieran Harrison to go and win this race by such a margin as well. You can tell he's put in so much work coming into this race day that it's really paid off. And of course, working with his core teammates on the setup as well. Remember, they're using open setups here, so there is a certain element of that does factor in to these races. But yeah, crazy, a fantastic finish for Harrison. It does give him a little bit of leeway now into Daytona, where we know things can be a little random.
A little random is the polite way of saying it. Where you could end up with 2 wide, multiple deep, and we come to the final lap. And there's some rules that we need to talk about as well, but we'll do that when we get to Daytona, shall we? We've got highlights coming up very shortly. We've got driver standings and everything coming up in just a moment's time. My name is Will Vincent. That guy is Connery Maddock. It's 7 rounds into the championship, and I can just about learn. I need to point that way to talk to Connery. The key thing about this race for me is that core, again, dominant. I just think there's a couple of missed opportunities down the line. And yes, you could overtake, but only when you had a bit more speed and you weren't right there separated by about a 10th of a second in qualifying.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. Of course, Lime Rock Park is, you couldn't really get 2 more different circuits on the, paired up together in one event day. Struggling to overtake, not many opportunities here at Lime Rock Park. A wealth of opportunities at Daytona with the slipstream to get things done in that element. But we do have a little bit of a break before we get to that point, Will.
We do, and that starts now.
전기차의 소음이 사라진 만큼 타이어의 소음도 사라져야 하니까.
Electrified. Hyundai Tire.
전기차의 소음이 사라진 만큼 타이어의 소음도 사라져야 하니까.
Electrified. Hyundai Tire.
전기차의 소음이 사라진 만큼 타이어의 소음도 사라져야 하니까.
Electrified. 한국 Tire.
전기차의 소음이 사라진 만큼 타이어의 소음도 사라져야 하니까.
Electrified. 한국 Tire.
Welcome back, folks. Round number 7 is in the books. Let's get some highlights from the last race, Connery.
Absolutely, drop of the green flag already, drama, as we saw Hahn get himself out, well, slid out a little bit and out into the grass. That was probably due to the cold dark tyres coming off the standing start. He wasn't the only one, by the way, because Marius Gollenbeck had similar issues coming out of the final corner on that first lap. We saw a big three-mile moment, actually, involving Hahn and a couple of the other drivers. That was the TTR Esports Australian driver, and of course we had Roberto Ferrari in the Italian machine getting himself involved in this one as well. It was great to see this fighting going on down in the middle of the mid-pack. Cornish eventually getting himself right onto the back of that and causing, I believe that was Modica, a couple of problems in terms of the potential moves. He did eventually send it down the inside at turn number 1 to get that position complete. Here's Kim and Polasek fighting side by side in the latter stages of the race. Polasek getting himself out into the grass. He had to fall right behind Kim in that situation. Here's the onboard with Mackenzie Cornish. He was pressuring Thomas Gibson all the way throughout this race. However, he couldn't pull off the overtake, he couldn't execute the move, so he had to remain down in P4, which equals his best finish over the course of this season. But the man of the moment was Kieran Harrison with a dominant drive, taking the race win.
Absolutely dominant, absolutely fantastic. And from that, we move ourselves to Daytona. But first, you can win yourself some prizes here today. Follow at Hyundai_N_festival on Instagram. That is stage 1. Stage 2, comment on the video that you're watching right now. And so long as you're on YouTube, so long as you don't get your comment blocks, you could be in with the chance to win a prize here today. Make sure you put your Instagram ID as well. You've got AirPods. We've got 5 of them to give away today. We've got some signed merch, 3 bits of signed merch to give away. And we've got 20 $15 iRacing credits that will get you a new car or a new track, basically, Connery, for about 30 seconds worth of work. And you've got until the end of the next race at Daytona in order to do so.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. As well, I would certainly get myself involved in that one, if I was, especially if I was looking at those iRacing gift vouchers to get a little bit more content. But here's where we're racing here for the second race of the evening. Daytona International Speedway Road Course, home of the Daytona 24, which happens every single January, both in the real world and in sim racing here on iRacing as well. And of course, we do have that mandatory pit stop for today. We saw how the mandatory drive-through worked out at Okayama. Let's see if we get an equal, if not more, excitement out of it for this one.
We've got ourselves 2 horseshoes. We've got ourselves the chicane. I can't believe it's called the Le Mans chicane. We're not even allowed to mention Le Mans half the time on our broadcast. But yeah, I mean, it's January all over again. I love this track so much. 12 corners, 5.72 kilometers in length. And of course, you run for the majority of the NASCAR banking. You basically join it in between turns 1 and 2. And then you go all the way through turns 3 and 4 on the banking. We'll talk about that lucky dip and what it actually means for these drivers in just one moment's time. And of course, we've got one driver who's probably raced here as well, Tyler Maxson. There's a look at our lucky dip then. There were our options for next time. Before we talk about now, these are our options for next time. You've got Super Bowl qualifying. You've got a rolling start. You've got a dusk/night race, and then you have a pit lane joker lap where basically you've got to come all the way onto pit road, drive through pit road, and accelerate. The Super Bowl qualifying is what we did earlier on in the season at round number 4. That is where the drivers will go out one at a time. They have 1 lap in which to do their qualifying, and then you can just vote for that at RaceSpot.WTF/lucky dip. That is RaceSpot.WTF/lucky dip. You've got 6 hours and 55 minutes. Sorry, 6 hours, 6 days, 23 hours and 55 minutes to do so. Look at that. 78.6% of our viewers voted for the mandatory pit stop for this lucky dip option. So after the freeway tire we had 2 weeks ago, Connery, this time it's pretty clear. That means that these drivers will have to come out of NASCAR turn 4, slow themselves down to the 55-mile-an-hour pit lane speed limit, drive on towards pit road, get themselves basically into their pit stall, do a 1, realistically 2 tire change, come out of pit road, accelerate out, and then navigate that very difficult infield section that's in between turns number 1 and 2, and then rejoin on the left-hand side of the track. Don't cross the white line before you get into the International Horseshoe.
Yep, that's the entire process, detailed in, of course, the drivers' briefings as well. So the drivers should, touch wood, should know what they're doing with regards to that one. And if they don't, well, it is indeed their fault. So there we go. There will be penalties, of course, if they do not decide to come down on towards the pit lane. So it'll be a bit of a palaver afterwards, but we'll get that sorted out. But yeah, I can't wait to get things going here at Daytona. You can see the sun already getting itself, well, low in the sky. The orange colours coming into effect. And once we skip our way into qualifying, it'll be even further into the dusk as well. Of course, we got a rolling start here as well, Will, because, well, we prefer the drivers not to start on a little bit of a cambered corner. It can be very sketchy. It's been done before here in iRacing, and it doesn't usually end well as you slide down the circuit for that initial acceleration phase. So we're avoiding all that by using the rolling start today.
Yeah, I'm a crazy project manager. I'm not that crazy. And there are some things that you can do. I think standing start at Daytona when you got turn 1 coming up afterwards, it's just one, which is just a little bit too manic. Of course, a one down in towards turn number 1 on that rolling start is going to be absolutely insane. I think there's going to be about 4 or 5 points in this race where we could have a lot of drama and a lot of incidents. Just to wrap up the voting, by the way, for the lucky dip option, and the other thing that these drivers have to bear in mind, they have to wait until the end of lap number 1 before they can come on towards pit road, and they have to do their pit stop before the white flag lap. Basically, they have to do so before they finish the race. No Michael Schumacher in 1998 at Silverstone. As well, we're not that far away actually from qualifying starting for this race. We've got about 7 minutes before we do so. By the way, those prizes, you can still vote for them. All you need to do, vote for them. You just basically go to Instagram, first of all, at Hyundai_N_festival on Instagram. Make sure that you follow. You've got to make sure that you follow Hyundai, first of all. Then go over to our YouTube channel, which you're watching right now, we presume. Live chat, support your favourite driver, and use your Instagram ID. For example, mine is Will Vincent without a space. If you want to follow me, you can do so as well. AirPod Pro, signed merchandise, iRacing gift cards. You've got until basically the end of this broadcast. You've got this race and the post-race conference afterwards. As soon as I say goodnight from Daytona, your time to win is over.
Yep, you want to be doing it sooner rather than later. If you don't even have Instagram, just sign up for an account and do it. It's easy. It's just as easy as that. You might be in to get yourself a chance for some goodies, and you can see those on the right-hand side as well, including some Apple AirPods Pro, signed merchandise as well from Hyundai. With their N branding, and of course those iRacing gift cards as well. So certainly worth getting yourself involved in that one. The instructions, well, Will has already gone through it, and it's on screen for you now as well. So, yeah, we are indeed a little bit of a time before we get ourselves our qualifying underway. Drivers just getting themselves their last little bits of practice in, I suppose, here in this one. And, well, this qualifying session, it's all going to be dependent on who can work together the most effectively. We know the core cars are good at working within their 4-car pack. That will really help them in the qualifying session here today. However, there might be some unlikely alliances formed up and down the grid just to get more cars in those packs, because yes, you can run as a 2-car pair, not necessarily the fastest way to go around. You know, more cars generally the better in that situation.
Yeah, let's actually do an onboard lap, shall we? With this number 29 car. We don't often do onboard laps. Oh, we can't do so. Let's choose another driver instead then. Victor Miranda, I believe, is still on track, as these drivers, of course, are all trying to practice their pit stop entries. So you've got to be careful when you come onto the lane as well. You're supposed to basically wait until 2 pit stalls before your box, before you come in, and then wait and don't leave more than 2 pit stalls afterwards. We have got now a driver we are going to go on board with. This is into turn... This is going to be my luck. We are going to get an onboard lap, we hope, in the next 3.5 minutes, as we want to show you about this racetrack. Turn number 1, the rules for this race are that you are allowed to push wide if you want to at turn number 1, because of course this is TCR racing. There is going to be a little bit of bump drafting happening all the way from NASCAR turns 3 and 4 all the way past the start finish line into turn number 1. We have, though, before we go any further, got our unofficial standings, and it is Kieran Harrison, number 93 car, who's got 142 points to Thomas Gibson's 127, also from the United Kingdom. Corazin Gunes, we're claiming second place in the last race, has closed the gap up to Thomas Gibson. It's now just 7 points. Marius Gonenbeck in 4th place in the championship, Brandon Hawkin in 5th, then Guman Kim, Gail Valeri, Jake Maloney, Victor Miranda, and Michael Polisek round out your field. Technically, all of them are in the shot of the championship. I say realistically now, we're down to 4 drivers, and yeah, they all have core colours on their car. Kieran Harrison still leading the championship, and we see we've got 20 drivers plus who scored points. 18th place First point for an invite driver. That is Tyler Maxson scoring 7 points on his debut into the series and moving himself automatically up into 18th place in the championship. Jae Han in 12th place, your second Korean driver, can do a lot more work, I think, here at Daytona here today. In terms of your country standings, 4 points from this race. The United Kingdom more than France, and the United Kingdom will have won the country championship and $2,000 for doing so. France second, Germany third. Go ahead.
Well, it's a little bit less than that, Will, because you can score as a maximum across one race 25 and 20.
That's a good point.
Points.
They might have actually won the championship already then, based on my maths. But we'll do the big reveal, shall we, at the end of this race, just so I can actually build up the excitement.
Well, it's I can already say. I'll leave you to it, Will. I'll let you in the text.
What we can say is they're definitely unofficial. That's the important part. They are unofficial, and the reason for that is because Race Control, as ever, big shout out to our friends Randy Cheneth and Ricardo Edelman. They are doing all the work behind the scenes, so penalties may still be applied, of course, to any of these drivers, and that's the reason why we say they are unofficial until the results have come out. And of course, then there's the opportunity for protest as well. Here's a look at the drivers' wall. We've got 3 of them to show you for this race. A lot of the drivers are doing work. We've got one of our Canadian drivers actually deciding to sit there and have a little bit of a chuckle onto our second driver wall. And again, some of the actual focus and the intensity you were talking about last time, Connery, and just how focused and in the zone they are as they go around this track. And it looks easy, Daytona. It's anything but.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be a different kind of race. That's the thing. It's going to be a very, very strategic race. Not only, of course, because we have that mandatory pit stop that they'll have to do at some point over the course of this race, apart from the final lap, of course. They can't do a Schumacher and to get down the pit lane because they know the pit lane line is behind their pit stall, so therefore they can make it a shorter time or whatever. I don't think that's going to happen here because the amount of speed that these guys carry down there anyway, so it wouldn't be effective. But still, yeah, you can't do it on the final lap. Every other lap is fair game. But yeah, we'll just get to see what happens here. It's going to be chess at maybe not quite 200 miles an hour, like we say with the NASCARs around here, but chess at quite a high speed.
Yeah, I think we've each got a bucket list that we want to do here at Daytona. For you, it's you want to land at the airport. For me, I have more simple taste. I just want to go on the Ferris wheel at night.
Yeah, I certainly can't blame you. And yeah, the airport's actually pretty cool, apparently, so.
Yeah, we've always had a question as well about what aircraft actually lands at this airport. If I'm correct, I believe it's a Boeing 757, for those of you wondering, as we are getting to sunset now. So this race will finish at night time, but unlike what we had at Okayama, there's plenty of lighting around this track. Of course, the second race in the NASCAR schedule that they have here, I'm not going to name the fizzy drinks company that sponsor it, but they do a 400-mile race under the lights completely. You can see that the lights, they are putting a little bit of a glow on this track. But right now, it's that little outlap, and these drivers doing a little bit of tyre warming. In about 2.5 minutes time, we're going to have our first qualifying laps come in, and it's going to be exciting at the start. It's going to be most exciting in those last 30 seconds of qualifying.
Yeah, it is going to be crazy. Those flurry of lap times will come through, and like I said before, it's going to be the group of drivers that have been able to run together the best are going to be the fastest around here. Of course, you know, we've got the element of making sure you don't mess up through that infield section. That's where actually a decent amount of the time comes from. You got to absolutely nail that infield section, and you absolutely have to nail the draft when it comes to the rest of the lap. And you can see pretty much everyone running line of stern, and that's the ideal situation for pretty much everyone.
Now, you'll notice there's a dashed line that goes around NASCAR turns 3 and 4. In fact, also NASCAR turns 1 and 2. They use that in NASCAR to basically give the car the maximum distance to build up speed before they do their qualifying laps. In this race, any driver that has a slowdown penalty has to go to the right-hand side, basically there to serve a slowdown penalty. We're on board with Goomin Kim in the number 23 as this is qualifying for round 8 of the Hyundai N Festival Global League 2022. That's turns number 1, 2, and 3. This is the break into the International Horseshoe. You got to make sure the car's settled, make sure you get on the power as early as you can. You can run wide on the exit of the corner. Next corner that comes up, the left-hand kink. You can pretty much take flat out in these cars. Just want to make sure you get the car settled before you break it down into the southern loop. This long, sweeping right-hander. Again, make sure you get on the gas nicely. It wasn't perfect there for Kim and Kim. Had to have a couple of stabs of the cherry. Then run a little bit wide on the entry into turn number 6. You're not allowed to run on the apron here at all in this race. You've got these cones telling you not to go down there. Now you're on to the banking. Now the draft is all going to come back to you as you work through NASCAR turn 2. Then the 31 degrees of banking will fall away, and there is still a little bit of banking in the backstretch. It's a misnomer saying it's flat. It's not. But now you head yourself slowly or quickly, depending on how you want to do it, into the bus stop chicane. Abuse the curbs on each 4 of them, but don't put all of your wheels inside of the curb, otherwise you'll get yourself a slow down penalty. Kim and Kim's actually closed up to the number 17 car just ahead of him. That's Victor Miranda on track, and Miranda's actually trying to break the draft to Kim and Kim as they run all line astern out of NASCAR turns 3 and 4. Now the banking will disappear just for a moment. It will come back onto the tri-oval. Important to note, Connery, you see that double yellow line on the inside? You're not allowed to go down there at any point in qualifying or the race.
That was almost a perfect draft sequence for Kim and Kim. He just about got to the rear bumper of the number 17 ahead of him, of Miranda, just as he got to the start-finish line. You could not have timed the draft more perfectly than that, and that has resulted in provisional pole position for Kim. So that's what the drivers are aiming for. They're looking to maximize that slipstream on the banking and coming down the back straight in particular, and of course the front straight as well. You know, you've got big opportunities at both sides of the circuit. Here's Gal Valero, who's not been able to set himself a lap time just yet in that Apex Racing Academy car. I would notice that green livery if it's, you know, all day long. But with Jake Blackwell, he's similarly in that situation where he's not able to get himself a lap time in for the Pure Sims Esports number 97. He's running in a relatively decent pack, however, headed up by Marcel Tai. So this should be a decent one for Jake Blackwell as long as he can maximize that, that hole in the air that's the car ahead of him is punching him.
I'll tell you what, he might not be top of the championship, but he does win the prize of best team sponsor placement, as you can see from his webcam on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. Jake Blackwell, the number 97 car representing Australia, working through the bus stop chicane. That is Marcel T just ahead of him. As we say, RIP to our first cone that we talked about in the broadcast here today. That's what I was talking about earlier. That little bit of the track just to the right-hand side of the dashed line that goes through the turns. This is where you want to go if you're serving yourself a slowdown penalty. Some drivers have been strategic and they've used that to try and get themselves kind of a placement in the draft pack. Tyler Maxson was the driver doing that just there. Currently 5th place in qualifying. Victor Miranda up to 3rd place in qualifying right now. Jake Blackwell still has not set a lap with 3 minutes and a half remaining in this session.
Well, Harrison and Gibson's gotten themselves to the top of the order with a fantastic lap time of 1:54.686 for Kieran Harrison. That is a crazy lap time in the grand scheme of things. Here's lovely Chacha, who unfortunately I think is running a little bit on her own out there, so not going to be able to benefit from any sort of draft situation. There she is, heading her way across the line now. Is this a valid lap going to be set? You'll get her on the board at least. Around about 2 minutes, and it is a valid lap time, so P21 on the starting grid for lovely Chacha. Might have an opportunity or two to get that little bit higher up as well, but it's always so tough when you don't have anyone helping you ahead.
Yeah, she also wins the award for 2nd place fan of the day. Probably best fan placement as well of the day. Just to let you know, by the way, live timing and scoring is available. Visit racebot.wtf/timing. That is racebot.wtf/timing forward/timing. We do apologize for the additional link that we're using for today. Just we had an issue that we can't quite fix in real time. We're on board with Thomas Gibson right now as he's at the front of a train. 155.157 ain't gonna beat that without a draft.
No, and well, it seems Gibson's been left out to dry a little bit here in P2. It might be a sort of an arrangement with his core teammates that he gets himself to the front of the train at this point and helps out those teammates behind. So coming up across the line now, 155.685 actually is marginally faster than Kieran Harrison, but was it valid? I don't think it was. Remains down in P3. In fact,
up to second.
Yeah. Interesting. And Ty, ooh, that's a spicy lap time.
Him up into third place. So we're into the business end of qualifying all of a sudden. By the way, thank you very much to our sponsors of the Hyundai N Festival Global League 2022. Shout out to Hyundai, of course. To Hankook Tires, be one with the road and the road be one with you. Also to Logitech G and to Africa TV. We're on board with Jake Maloney in towards turn number 1. You're qualifying as it stands. It's Kieran Harrison in pole position. Gunes second place. Kim third. T in fourth. Gibson rounds out your top 5. But it is almost half a second between Kieran Harrison and Gunes in second. But look at the draft that Corentin Gunes has right now in the 03 car. That French driver is saying, well, thank you very much. Merci beaucoup, is Corentin Gunes saying as he works through the banking.
Yes, and now I'm just going to imagine him just saying the random French words behind the wheel of that car now every time he's on screen. So I don't think hearing much of that for that will. But yeah, Gunes heading his way through that chicane. Oh, a little bit of scrappy finish to that. Yeah, he's going to be losing a little bit of time there. Obviously, he's going to benefit from the draft of all of his teammates ahead of him. But let's see if he's able to beat that 154.686 that Kieran Harrison was able to set. And, well, it's going to be tough with a bus stop chicane like that. So he's looked a little bit concerned there on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. Let's see what the run to the line is going to be like. And if he can even get himself, yeah, he's going to get himself another lap in here. 154.925.
Yeah, gets in with just 3 seconds remaining before the checkered flag comes out for qualifying. So your entire 4 core sim racing drivers have got 1 additional lap. It's Marius Gollenbeck who's up into second place right now, a 154.800. But these 4 core drivers, they're going to be running it all the way to the dying second of qualifying. Jorge Flores from Mexico in P number 11 right now as he comes on towards pit road. But we turn our attention back then to Marius Gollenbeck as he works into the southern horseshoe. Now he's got 1 more big braking zone before he heads himself onto the banking. Marius Gollenbeck may be looking for his first pole position of the series. A wonderful run there through turn 6. You can do that. Just let the car drift out a little bit. It gives you a little bit more speed as you work onto the banking. I tell you one thing, if you're the car ahead, do you just pull over at this point, or are you going to carry on working with your teammates?
He might, well, yeah, catch him on the way down in towards the bus stop here, so lifting out might lose just that little bit too much time if Gollenbeck's thinking about going for pole position, but he lifts out himself instead and gets in towards that chicane behind the British core car ahead. Ooh, a little bit too sketchy up over the curb from the car ahead, and you see the communications going on between Marius and his teammates trying to organise this final run to the line. Remember, they have Guinness behind them. It is Kieran Harrison, that's the car ahead. And, well, we'll see what happens on the run to the line out of that final NASCAR turn.
I did tell you it will come down to the dying moments of qualifying. Marius Gollenbeck then going to go to the right-hand side. Has he done enough? The answer is going to be no. A 155.053 there for Gollenbeck. Gunes to pole position. 154.578. Corentin Gunes in the 03 car from France claims pole position for round number 8 of the Hyundai N Festival Global League 2022. The Frenchman does it.
That was a great lap, and of course he was the third car in line, the best place to be in a situation like that. And remember, this is also an effect of the supplementary regulations that were imposed as well, but the drivers weren't able to organize themselves in this train by slowing up for each other. So that's why Gibson dropped off that entire situation, which is why also Harrison was sort of trapped at the very front of the train, not getting the draft. So in the end, it was Guinness in the prime position in the core train to be able to go pole position. He's joined on the front row by Kieran Harrison, his fellow teammate.
Golombek third, Kim fourth, Marcel T fifth, Thomas Gibson round out your top six, your starting grid for round number 8 of the championship. Victor Miranda for Brazil, P7, Jake Blackhole for Australia in 8th, Australia's Jake Maloney in 9th, America's Michael Polasek in P number 10. Jorge Flores from Mexico in 11th, Tyler Maxson, your invite driver from the USA in P number 12. 13th place on your grid here today will be Roberto Ferrari from Italy, Brandon Hawkin for Canada 14th, Del Valero 15th for France, Mackenzie Cornies for Canada in 16th, Pierce Sheaves in 17th place for India, Simone Medica in 18th place for Italy, 19th for Fabio Zampolini, 20th for Aditya Paknik, and then Jose Miranda, Jahi Ham, Noah Carpenter, Johun Jang, and Lucky Cha-Cha round out your field. You can just see the times at the rear of the field, by the way. You can tell the difference between being able to use a draft and not.
Yep, that is the big difference maker here at Daytona. You can see the cars lining up behind the generic sedan pace car, as we do not have a Hyundai pace car in the sim. So, you know, that's the situation there. But again, rolling starts, remember. Of course, we didn't want that standing start coming down the banking, so it's going to be a little bit easier for these drivers to space themselves out heading down into that potentially sketchy turn number 1. It's you know, you're having to deal with the track changing angle underneath you with the camber change, and of course there's a good couple of bumps coming through there while you're turning left into the corner. It is one of the trickiest corners in motorsports, and to have it as a turn 1 at any circuit would be potentially quite dangerous. But here's a reminder of the giveaway.
One more time then, follow Hyundai_N_Festival on Instagram. Then comment on YouTube, support your favourite driver, and of course, give us your Instagram ID, because we can't figure that one out of thin air. Prizes, we've got 5 pairs of AirPod Pros. We've got Hyundai signed merchandise. We've got 20 $15 iRacing gift cards. You have until the end of the broadcast to figure that one out. Pace car working through the banking. Now on to NASCAR turns 3 and 4. That was the exit of the bus stop chicane. It is Daytona. I'm not allowed to sing it. The algorithm will ban us. But the iRacing pace car is going to work itself down on towards pit road in a moment's time. Corentin Gunes will be able to accelerate at any point after that. And he's got teammates around him, but Corentin Gunes wants second place or more in terms of your Drivers' Championship. So this might be the time that the gloves are off and the core sim racing teammates, well, they might not be as big of a teammate in this race. Don't forget, mandatory pit stop is required in this 20-minute race. This is round number 8 of the Hyundai N Festival Global League 2022. Corentin Gunes then waiting, still waiting. You see, Gibson's not happy. Green flag is out. We are away at Daytona, and you've got 3 core sim racing drivers going 3 wide almost in towards turn number 1. Corentin Gunes leads, and that was Harrison going wide, and he's lost a position. He's lost 2 positions into turn number 1. The question's going to be, are they going to make it through turns number 2 and 3? Yes. Whoa. And then no. That's a TTR racing car off track, and that is a lot of wheel spin. 2 British drivers with incidents.
Yeah, and that car that went straight across the international horseshoe. It took out one of your British drivers. It was indeed was that Gibson actually getting himself involved in that. Harrison's still in 4th place, but Gibson is nowhere to be seen at the very front of the field here. So that is absolutely huge for the championship. I'm reminded of that instant at Phillip Island where we saw a car come off the circuit, absolutely career in towards that first sector and take out a car. It seems to have happened again, and it's to Gibson again, basically being a target of a torpedo that's gone through the grass.
Yep, we've got NASA not that far away from Daytona, and that was the fastest thing you see outside of NASA for, unfortunately, Thomas Gibson. Here you can see bottom of your screen, he's out. Yeah, he's out the car, he's given up, he's rage quit. But at the front of your field, it's Gunes and Gollenbeck from Kim as they work themselves through the bus stop chicane for the first time. Kim was bump drafting Gollenbeck all the way down that back straightaway. But Gunes now has got a great chance to put himself back into championship contention. He's leading by half a second over Marius Gollenbeck because Harrison right now is in 4th place, but most importantly, being a second back, he's almost lost the draft.
Yeah, he is. The crucial moments here early on in this race with that incident with Gibson. We see 3 wide back there as we see a changing for position. But Gollenbeck and Gunes immediately on towards pit lane. They're taking the stop at the first opportunity.
And I think they did that because they didn't want Kim in the mix with him. Kim has been left out to dry on track. There's 2.2 seconds between himself and Polisek, but we got so many drivers on pit road early here. Don't forget, RaceSpot.wtf/timing. You can follow along with the drivers as they come in to do what is a mandatory pit stop, as we've got issues there. That was the number 12 car, bam, into the wall.
Yep, number 12 of Marquez. Marquez having a big instant there. There's the cars coming off of pit lane. If you're giving Kim here, I don't know if you have much other choice than can come down in at the end of this lap and try and tag back onto the back of the core chain, because the longer you're left out there, the more time that you're going to lose this pack that's able to draft effectively together. Kim has to come in at the end of this lap to try and mitigate the disadvantage.
Yeah, so the 3 core cars that are still running in this race are back out on track. Thomas Gibson and the 04 car out of the race. And I did say there's going to be more than 3 retirees from this event. Well, we're pretty much in that situation already. Jake Maloney's on pit road, Mirando's on pit road, Flores is out, Gibson is out. We're looking at what is technically the battle for P2 right now between Polisek and Hawkin. 45 versus a 99 as they work through the bus stop chicane. You got the second Canadian car of Coynes running 4th place on track, and you got Tyler Maxson running in that group of cars as well, running 5th place right now. I want to see, is Guman Kim going to come on towards pit road this time by, or is he going to try and stay out? We'll find out the answer to that. He's on pit road, as is Polisek, as is Hawkin, as is Cornice, and there is what happened on lap number 1.
Yeah, the TTI spots. Oh, Gibson, he's just in the wrong place at the wrong time for the second race meeting in a row, as one of our helpful viewers says in the YouTube chat. There's all the cars coming down in towards pit lane. Everyone instantly responding to the plan of Core. They don't want to be hung out to dry all alone with no slipstream out there and losing so much time to those guys that came down in early as a big pack. Whether or not this, where these drivers are going to come out in relation to those drivers that have pitted already is a different issue, as we see. Was that Victor Miranda getting himself down the inside? Hahn stuck up all behind one of the Indian drivers as well, trying to get himself through on that, as we have a good gaggle of cars on pit lane. The drivers that have not pitted from Miranda all the way down to Galvalero. So that's P1 through 8.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about the pit stop times in a moment, once they all settle down a little bit. Jehu Zhang going for the race lead again over Victor Miranda. Patnaik up into 2nd place here. So whilst these drivers haven't yet pitted, some great airtime for them as they work through turn number 6 right now. You see Patnaik already right on the rear of Jehu Zhang. Victor Miranda side by side with Hahn, number 92 machine for Korea. So Jahi Hahn on the outside line, Victor Miranda on the inside. Jahi Hahn's going to go back down to the inside, going to push, and there we're on board with Victor Miranda. He's having a gaggle of fun right now as he's got Patnick right behind. Look at that. Going to slot it down the inside of one. And that was on the yellow line. That was very close.
Yeah, he got it up though to the front of the field. However exciting all this battling going on here is the more crucial point is that Gumin Kim and Ashley Polasek lost the, on the edge of losing the draft to the three-car core pack of Harrison, Golombek, and Guinness. Guinness, of course, losing the race lead in that entire situation as well. Harrison's out ahead of that pack. So basically, the effective race lead's going on for P number 9 at this moment as Miranda heads his way in.
Yeah, that was Tyler Maxson almost sideswiping the number 32 car as they came onto the front straightaway there. So Maxson being very aggressive right now in 16th place. He has made that pit stop, and look at that. They're all coming together down in turn number 1. It's technically Jahi Han who is leading this race. You've got Zhang in second place, Zambolini and Patnaik fighting for third, but Golombek had the best pit stop of the lot, and he's currently in 9th place, which is effectively your race lead. Kieran Harrison second place, Gunes in third. Gunes had a miserable time on pit road out of all these people, even though it's a 23.1 second pit stop there for Gunes compared to 21.8 for Harrison, 22.6 for Golombek.
Getting into the side of the 32 there was Carpenter. I don't think Zampolini's going to appreciate that as he swipes across to those to try and take the normal entry to the corner. Like I said, as exciting as this battling at the front is, there are important things happening down in the region of Golombek, Harrison, Guinness, Polasek, and Kim. Because Polasek, he's trying his best to maintain the slipstream of the trio of core cars ahead of him. I think he might have that now, and he might be able to bridge the gap between himself, those core cars, and Gumin Kim and Brandon Hawkin. Brandon Hawkin, by the way, has been getting right up behind Gumin Kim and pushing him along the circuit, bump drafting at Daytona.
Yeah, and I was about to say that for Polasek, because of the fact that he's going to get the draft of these core cars, it should give him that couple of extra tenths per second that he needs to break away from Gumin Kim in that 23 car. Here is Marius Golombek. The number says 7 right now, but that's because the 6 ahead of him haven't yet pitted. It is Golombek leading this train from Harrison. Then you've got yourself Gunes. Then you've got Polasek. And actually, it looks like Kim and Hawkin have got themselves back into the mix as well. We haven't really seen what they're able to do when they're all running in a group, but we're going to find out in a couple of laps. There's a little bit further ahead on the field for the time being. That is Jahi Han. All forms of wiggles into turn number 1.
Yeah, he's got Junho Zhang, fellow South Korean, not part of the South Korea team, however. Junho Zhang is a Hyundai N or Hyundai N invite driver, so he won't be scoring points for South Korea in this race. There's Carpenter down on towards the pit lane for the number 57. There's the group of core cars. That's basically the fight for the effective race lead. Polasek certainly on the back of this train, so is Gumin Kim, and of course we can count Brandon Hawkin in this as well.
So we've got 5 yet to pit. Then Harrison's leading the train now from Gunes and Golombek. This one will change a lot. Don't forget, when you've got teammates working together, you can actually gain a little bit more of an advantage by swapping positions at the start-finish line and on the back straightaway compared to just bumping the other driver down. You see this a lot in the iRacing Indianapolis 500. By the way, it's almost a month of May. But you'll see this a lot of the iRacing Indy 500. These drivers from Core have evidently gotten into that NASCAR frame of mind and that IndyCar frame of mind in terms of using the draft and then slipstreaming past rather than just bump drafting.
That definitely seems to be the case. I did see, however, Hawkin and Kim bump drafting, and now we see Zampolini trying to get right up behind Patnick to bump him along the circuit as well. So the bump drafting strategy is still valid, and it does tend to net you a massive run on any cars ahead, as you're also gaining the benefit of the slipstream of the cars ahead. Zampolini dipping down underneath. This is an angle towards the pit lane, I would have thought. Yes, he is. So he's going to slam on the anchors, make sure he gets himself down to pit lane. Speed limit does so in quite a comfortable fashion, and that's number 32 in.
Yeah, don't forget, by the way, Race Control will be reviewing all the pit stops as well, just to make sure they're not doing something that we call gear smashing. They've got to make sure that they drive down a pit road speed limit, either using the pit limiter or their right foot. Podesek looking to the outside of Marius Gonnenbeck as they come onto the tri-oval. And, a little bit of contact, and that moves up the racetrack. The Korean driver of Gumin Kim in towards turn one they come. Again, I did tell you, there's going to be some crazy moments in this race. The highlight reel is going to be much bigger than what we saw at Lime Rock Park, but little moments like that, when you're going too wide, you're that close, you've got to make sure that you're not bumping sideways, because otherwise you're moving someone up the racetrack into calamity, as Polisek and Gonnenbeck side by side for the horseshoe, making more contact.
Polisek knows that Gonnenbeck tends to be the rear gunner for Core. He wants to get by as fast as possible, because Gonnenbeck will have no problem slowing up the cars behind to make sure his two teammates ahead try and get away the best possible. So time is of the essence to try and get past Gonnenbeck here. For the rest of the three cars also in this pack, so Polisek, Kim and Hawkin, that's the task they have at hand. Let's see if they're able to execute it though, because that Hyundai of Gonnenbeck can be pretty wide at times in terms of keeping cars behind him. He's the rear view camera of those cars, stalking him down the pit straight, down the back straight, excuse me.
Yep, on the NASCAR banking. The 03 cars, what you see behind that is Corentin Gunes. The question's going to be, how much are they going to be working together on the final lap? Don't forget, Harrison is leading the championship. Gunes right now is in the hunt for the championship, and with what happened to Thomas Gibson on lap number 1, Gunes has the opportunity to move up into second place in the championship, but of course he'll want more. He'll want to take this battle to Harrison all the way down to the final round. That is the number 76 car of Patnick on pit road. Valero's on pit road. Go on.
Misses his pit stall, does Patnick. He has to try and engage reverse gears. We got action at the very front of the field. Here comes Polisek once again, going the long way around. Can he get the move done? Well, he's got it done on one British driver. That's Harrison is disposed of, and now he's looking to try and swing his way around the outside of Gonnenbeck as well. Maybe two positions in one go for the American.
And this is I did say the American drivers will be good here. Often you see so many drivers do so many laps. I think it's 931 was the record at Daytona. We did smash that this year. And there we are, one position gained again by Polisek, up into second place on the road. Corentin Gunes is leading the train right now. So you've got a Frenchman currently leading, but he's still got to make a pit stop. Gunes leading what is the actual battle for the race lead. Polisek second in that train, then Marius Gonnenbeck, then Kieran Harrison's falling down to fourth place in the line. If you're Kieran Harrison, with the point advantage you have right now, how hard do you battle in this, knowing it's millimetre close and you don't want to lose all the points that Thomas Gibson has already?
Yeah, exactly. This is shaping up to be a great battle at the front. So Polisek has been successful in getting past a handful of the Core Sim racing cars. He just has one more to go, but of course you may not necessarily want to be in the race lead at the start of the final lap here, depending on how the whole draft situation turns out. Of course, if you are that car in second place on the final lap, you have to try and maximize the run as much as possible through the bus stop to give yourself a best chance of beating the driver ahead of you to the start-finish line. And of course, they'll have a couple of opportunities to see what the run is like as well, to see if they'll even be able to get there. So Polisek, he has to try and think about this one in terms of where he wants to be on the final lap, in and amongst all this pressure from behind as well.
You saw on the right-hand side of your screen a moment ago the country standings. It's currently a tie between Australia and South Korea, but of course the United Kingdom are dominant once again. Despite the fact they're down one driver, they will claim the country championship pretty much guaranteed by the end of this race. As you see, that is Corentin Gunes on the inside, Gonnenbeck going the very wide line there, and you've got yourself Polisek, who's just kind of like the meat and the core sandwich, but also coming into the mix now is the number 23 car, Kim is again loose. Is Polisek on the inside, and Polisek and Gonnenbeck have had issues already in this championship. Gonnenbeck put in a protest about Polisek last time out, and it looks as though there's no love lost between these two drivers.
They've got to be careful about damage, because any bit of aerodynamic damage around here is going to cause so much drag that you're going to be a sitting duck on the straights. And now Polasek has the issue that Kim is trying to get through in him at the moment. Kim will back out of that move. Here's the rise from the rear view for Kieran Harrison, as he's going to be gaining a whole bunch of points in terms of trying to get relatively clear in terms of the championship. Of course, Guinness is ahead of him at the moment, so the gap narrows there. It's just he's gaining a whole bunch over Gibson at the moment, who unfortunately is a DNF from this race for the second time this season, and of course for the in the same way for the second time as well.
Yep, he's been T-boned twice. I mean, he's not going to want to get a T-bone steak after this. He's probably going to have PTSD over it. I did note, by the way, Kieran Harrison has a Top Gear mouse mat. So there's an interesting little point, as he was in Top Gear moment. We're looking from the rear. Of course, in Gunes in the 03 car, as we've got ourselves behind Zhou Jiang in 8th place right now. This is actually a great run for Zhou Jiang. Tyler Maxson, P number 10, just working himself on the inside of Roberto Ferrari. The two Italians are together. Now, we have talked already about the fact the French drivers don't work together. It'll be interesting to see if the Italians work together here today.
I certainly hope so. They're part of the same esports team. But back towards the very front of the fields then, as there's Guinness on the inside. Golombek going the long way around. Polasek trying to make it 3 wide off the corner. Gibson getting himself towards the inside through the S's section. Oh, they've all got to give each other room. Polasek still in the middle of that one. Golombek gets the better run on the inside, able to take that inside line through the international horseshoe. Here's the on-board with Polasek. He has just a wall of core cars ahead of him, with Gibson and Golombek just unwilling to let him through by any means.
Race of the season so far, most certainly, in terms of all the battling we've got going on in your field. But Corentin Gunes still leads that train over Golombek, over Harrison, over Polasek, over Kim. The thing I'm noticing, though, is that Marius Golombek quite clearly is the driver who's looking to try and work the outside line on the final corner, looking to try and claim victory on that run to the line. I'd love to get an overhead shot as I come past the start-finish line this time around, just to see how close Golombek is to Corentin Gunes as they work past start-finish line into turn number 1. Brandon Hawkin really needs to turn some lights on in his house at this point. I mean, I know we've got an energy crisis going on, but it's pitch black there. You only get the redness of its lights, as now we've got this wonderful look into the bus stop chicane, looking at Gunes, looking at Golombek, looking at Harrison at the rear of your shot. Golombek is actually a little bit further back to what he's been previously, but don't be surprised if he's alongside by the time they exit turn 4 of the NASCAR layout of this track and come past the start-finish line once again. You can see it's closing already. It's down to 2 car lengths. It's down to 1 car length. And Golombek goes to the outside. And then look at Harrison. He also wants to go to the outside, and Golombek would win at the line.
Yeah, this is the start of the final lap as well. They crossed the line with 1:45, and it's a 1:55 lap time here as they head their way in towards turn number 1. Golombek still attempting that outside line through turn number 1. Polasek getting alongside him now through the S's section. Now, next braking zone. Oh, there's contact between the two of them again, and another little bit of contact into the braking zone as well. There's no love lost between Golombek and Polasek. I get the feeling there'll be more protests coming in after this as well.
Yeah, but the thing is, Polasek has the inside line into the kink. That could give him a bit of an advantage over Golombek. They stay side by side. Golombek will have the inside line into the southern horseshoe, and they do make contact again. Polasek pushed off track down at the southern horseshoe. He's going to fall all the way down the order. He's going to come back on track around P number 6. He's out of the running. We're down to 5 cars in terms of your battle to the line here at Daytona. Gunes leads by 7/10 of a second over Golombek. Harrison in 3rd, Gumin Kim in 4th, and Brandon Hawkin rounds out your top 5. Folks, get your photo finish cameras ready. As here's a quick look, first of all, at what happened between Golombek and the car from the United States and the full send car off track, but we go back to live pictures. Corentin Gunes already trying to break the draft as they come down into the bus stop chicane. Last time we saw both Harrison and Golombek go to the outside line on the exit of the final corner. The time would expire this time around. So Corentin Gunes knows that he's now flat out towards the end of the race. Golombek is 4 tenths of a second back as they work through NASCAR turn 4. The time expires now. White flag in the air, checkered flag coming out. Corentin Gunes is leading, but can Golombek get out the line? The answer is no. Corentin Gunes wins by 24 1/1000ths of a second over Golombek. Kieran Harrison in third. Your top 3 drivers separated by less than 1/10 of a second. And if we go back, the reason why Golombek didn't win that race was, I think, the issue he had with Polasek. That just cost him that 10th of a second he needed on the banking.
Hang on, I just saw Polasek pass all these guys. I wonder if he's going to have a virtual talking to with his car, with Golombek, with that situation. Of course, from what we saw with the above view, there was a little bit of internet racing going on, shall we say there. But of course, the stewards will look at it after the event. This is the run towards the line. Look at how big a run both that secondary and third core drivers had coming towards the line, but Golombek wasn't quite able to get there to score his first win of the season. It was Corentin Gunes getting himself up to the right, to the front. That's his second win of the season.
Yeah, so Corentin Gunes flashing the lights. I mean, we did say drivers have at it in terms of bump drafting and racing. It was very, very aggressive between Polasek and Golombek on those last couple of laps. In fact, it was for the last 5 laps of this race. But what a race we had at Daytona for round 8 of the Hyundai N Festival Global League 2022. Corentin Gunes comes home with the victory, however, for France, and does close up that championship a little bit. Here's a look then at your final race results. Corentin Gunes wins by 24 1/1000ths of a second over Germany's Marius Golombek. Kieran Harrison, third place for the United Kingdom. Gubin Kim in fourth for South Korea. Then you got Brandon Hawkin in fifth for Canada. Michael Polasek in sixth for the United States. Roberto Ferrari, Simone Medica for Italy. Tyler Max in ninth place, and the rest of those results coming through on your screen. Fastest lap of the day, that was set by the number 23 car of Gubin Kim on lap number 5. Let's take a very quick breath, shall we, Connery? That was big.
Yeah, that was absolutely huge. I think the stewards will have their work cut out today because of all those bits of contact that we saw, even at the very start of the race as well, with huge issues into the International Horseshoe that unfortunately took Thomas Gibson out of this race. So, you know, there's definitely going to be a protest coming in for that. There's probably going to be protests for the multiple bits of contact that Polasek and Golombek made. I think multiple protests from the both of them, to be honest. Here's the unofficial standings, though. 158 to 145. That's the difference with Kieran Harrison and Corentin Gunes. Gibson falls down to third in points.
He does. So then you've got yourself Brandon Hawkin, Gubin Kim, Michael Polasek, Del Valero, Jake Maloney, Victor Miranda. They are your top 10 in terms of the standings, and it comes down to the final 2 rounds between Kieran Harrison and Corentin Gunes. Thomas Gibson is in the mixer as well. We are officially, though, down to 4 drivers in terms of the championship, Connery.
Yep, we absolutely are. So it's that's the situation there. You can see Panik and Flores down on 4 points. Tyler Maxson 14 points just from today, which is pretty good, as the 5th point scorer from the Hyundai N invite drivers. I will say it in the correct way this time around. But yeah, it was an absolutely crazy event. We have one more event to go here, Will. One more. Before we get ourselves a championship decided, at least in terms of drivers. But there's the look at the teams championship, of course, which we can confirm is already decided.
Yes, 285 points for the United Kingdom. So Kieran Harrison and Thomas Gibson will share $2,000 for winning the country championship. Let's say these are technically unofficial, so unless there is a massive set of protests, it's United Kingdom. Congratulations for winning the country standings. France, second place, Gunes and Valero. Third place goes to Germany, Golombek and Marcel T. South Korea currently 4th place, 1 place ahead of Australia. So Gubin Kim and Jahi Han, great run there for South Korea to give themselves a point advantage over Jake Maloney and Jack Blackhall. They are your top 5 in terms of Australia. And yeah, Hyundai Invite actually getting to the top 10 then with Tyler Maxson. We're not far away, by the way, for post-race interviews, and I think there might be some interesting choices of words going on after this one. But what a great race we had at Daytona here today as we welcome you back into the virtual RaceSpotTV studio. My name's Will Vincent, that guy is Connery Maddock. Connery, what a great race.
Yeah, it had all the intrigue that we were looking for in this one. I think it's probably fair to say, of course, that pit stop causing a bit of chaos with regards to Core immediately coming down in. First opportunity they got, they decided to get the pit stop down and out of the way. You know, trying to utilize the advantages that they have with so many cars in this series to run in one big pack. It was good job that Kim and Polasek and all of that, they responded to that immediately as well. They couldn't have stayed out there for another lap or another 2 laps, otherwise they would have lost too much time. So instant response. They didn't lose the slipstream once they come off of pit lane, and then that's what allowed them to challenge at the end and try and get themselves onto the podium. But yeah, it was crazy stuff at the end. Core worked pretty well together to get all of their cars, in the podium positions, despite all of that pressure.
Yeah, you're completely right. And I will say that, interestingly, in terms of how it all ended up blending together, we did say that there was going to be a disadvantage for the likes of Hawkin, the likes of Kim in particular, for the fact they didn't pit at the same time as Core. Because of the draft, because of the fact, I think most likely, because Courtin Gunes had that miserable pit stop, let's say it was 23.6 seconds compared to 22s and 21s elsewhere. Courtin Gunes, actually, because of that slow pit stop and the way they all came out, really did end up bringing the rest of the pack together to make it a 6-horse race.
Yeah, it really did. And honestly, in that 6-car pack, it could have theoretically finished in any order, right? That's what races at Daytona tend to be like. As long as you're in that leading draft pack at the very end of the race, you have a chance to win. It's just as simple as that. Of course, we saw that incident between Golombek and Polasek. That one was unfortunate and will be looked at after the race. But pending any further review, it is still Guinness coming away with the top spot at the end of this one.
I think we're almost ready for some driver interviews. So we're going to talk to some drivers after what's been a wild and chaotic race here today. So we are going to say hello to Courtin Gunes. Courtin, congratulations. It's your second race victory here in the Hyundai N Festival Global League 2022. Yeah, well done. How was it for you?
I mean, it was just stressful from the start of the round. I had some issues with my wheel, like I couldn't sometimes downshift and upshift, so yeah. So happy, quite a relief, because the last round wasn't so easy for me, like I was missing a bit of pace. But now being in the mix, like being able to get both P1 and P2 in both races is so cool, so yeah, such a relief, to be honest.
Now, that last lap, Marius Golombek couldn't get you up the line, but he did get you out the line coming to the white flag lap. How did you change your driving approach on that final lap to try and maximize your opportunity of keeping the victory at the end?
I saw that there was kind of a chance to have a fight between Michael and Marius, so I tried to really optimize all my racing lines. And then I saw that they made contact at turn 4 or turn 5, and then I knew that I had a chance to win the race. But yeah, the draft is so powerful, so I tried to kind of wave a bit, but just cut the slipstream. And yeah, when I saw that the gap was like 5-6 tenths after the bus stop, I knew that there was a big chance for me to win. But yeah, it was still very close, even with 0.5, 0.6 after the bus stop.
Now, final question. We've got 2 rounds of the championship remaining. You're still in the hunt for the overall championship, which of course 10,000 USD plus the experience to go with Hyundai to a WRC event. What do you need to do in these last 2 rounds? And even though you've got teammates around you all the time, is it going to be gloves are off, they're no longer really your teammates?
Yeah, it's going to be really difficult. I mean, Kevin is such a good driver. He's not making any mistakes. So yeah, I think I'm going to have, to be honest, need a bit of luck there. But yeah, we will see. I mean, everything can happen. We saw that again this evening. So yeah, we will see. But I mean, it's going to be a good fun for the next 2 races for sure.
Merci beaucoup, Corentin Greenes there for France. Congratulations on
Thank
the
you.
victory here today. And Connery, what a performance by Corentin. And as I say, he's got a lot of thinking to do before he gets to the next round of the championship, because it's coursing racing drivers around him. How nice are you going to be? Are you going to keep some little trick? I would say up our sleeves. We've got very short sleeves, but are you going to keep some tricks up your sleeve as you come into these last 2 rounds?
Well, it's going to be a tough situation for all these drivers involved, because this is the point where the esports team allegiance gets thrown out the window. That's at least my thoughts on it. Hopefully we get themselves a good race. Hopefully they don't come together as teammates, because that can and does happen. But we'll move on for our additional interview.
Yeah, indeed. So, guten Tag, Marius Gollenbeck. Congratulations on second place. 24 1,000ths of a second away from your first victory. Was it the battle that you had in that last lap? Did that create enough separation for you to not be able to catch up to Rio Greenes? Or was there anything else you could have done?
Well, I probably screwed that up myself. I was just trying to take it a bit easy on the entry of the chicane and then ended up totally messing up the exit. I'm just rewatching it now. I think, you usually say whoever comes in second out of the chicane wins it, but not if you take it this easy.
Now, in terms of the battles that have been going on with your teammates, for example, we saw very intense racing. Then some people not in your team also battling very hard with you. How much attention are you paying to the fact that, teammates around you were batting for P1 and 2 in the championship? Do you give them any additional room? Do you treat them differently? Or is it just a case they are all exactly the same with all the other competitors?
To be honest, we're racing hard against everybody. I don't think there's a special treatment for anybody, but I try to stay out of it as most as I can, because I'm obviously not trying to interfere with the championship. But on tracks like these, it's particularly hard because there's just no way you can really stay out of it. So we have this rule where we try to all do our own race and not get in the way of each other. But apart from that, we are racing everybody just like we usually would.
Now, in a couple of weeks' time, we're heading back to your neck of the woods. We're going to Europe for the final 2 rounds of the championship. Either of these 2 rounds going to be a potential chance of you getting victory?
Well, I thought I could have had it now. It's going to be very difficult against the 3 quick guys from my own team, and certainly against the Koreans at least. Brandon's improved as well, seeing Lime Rock, so I think the competition's getting stronger, and maybe Hockenheim, maybe Red Bull Ring, they both have some draft in it, so you kind of need to be on the right spot at the end of the race. That could be my chance, but it does need a good quali and it does need a good race before that. So fingers crossed, maybe I can get it. I'd totally be happy with the podium as well.
Well, Dankeschön, Marius Gollenbeck. Tschüss.
Thank you, Will.
There we are. We've got something in the background there. But for Gollenbeck, he's going to have a very difficult situation, because when you think about the fact that he's got all those teammates around him, and I know Marius so well, he doesn't just want to be the rear gunner. We said the word rear gunner and Marius Gollenbeck so many times, but actually, he is very competitive at heart. Yes, he can play the team game, but I'm sure he really does want a victory in this series.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to see what happens into that final event, because the team allegiances will be tested somewhat, like I mentioned before. But of course, we do have Kieran Harrison getting himself in. So take it away again, Will.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm our junior today, Kieran. So hello. Unfortunately, not a victory for you here today, but the championship seems secure enough for the moment. Coming home with another good finish here at Daytona.
Yeah, I was, to be honest, just pleased to survive Daytona. That was always going to be a bit of a lottery with the draft and everything. And we saw it with Thomas, extremely unlucky yet again with just a car out of control on the grass. No way you can go. But yeah, I'm pleased to survive. 2 good results tonight. Looks good for me in the championship at the moment. But obviously, there's still a lot of racing to go. It's by no means secure. Anything can still happen. I think Corentin's now probably in second. Can't be that far back.
He is. He is indeed, but that final lap of the race, we saw, the coming to the white flag, we saw you go all the way to the outside. Marius got him back in the middle. Were you thinking about doing the same thing? Did you think you could have maybe found an additional way through in that last lap? Is there anything you could have done differently?
Yeah, to be honest, I did try, but I just never got the run from third. As Marius was saying before, he didn't really get the run out of the chicane challenge for the win, and that kind of backed me up a little bit as well, so neither of us had the chance. You do see it sometimes at Daytona where the third place car wins, but yeah, I did my best and it just wasn't to be.
Next time up, we've got ourselves Hockenheim, we've got ourselves a Red Bull Ring. You've got 2 races to go before you might end up being champion of this series. What do you need to do in the last 2 rounds of this championship, apart from playing a little bit of defense?
Just got to keep going, keep being fast, and then trying to avoid the risks as best I can. That's the luxury of being in the points lead. But obviously, you've got to be careful not to go too far with that. Because if you take no risks, you'll not get any points. And obviously, still need to be. If I just get a win and then in the first round next week or in 2 weeks' time, that would be a right nerve settler. So yeah, just got to keep doing what I'm doing, getting the wins where I can, settling for podiums where I can't. Hopefully, it comes home.
Well, thank you very much, Kieran Harrison. Another good round for him here today at Daytona. 2 more rounds and he could be champion of the Hyundai N Festival Global League 2022. Very quickly, don't forget, you've got probably about 3.5 minutes before we end up closing our competition for this round. So if you want to win some AirPods, some Hyundai signed merch, or one of 20 $15 iRacing gift cards, well, you basically got until Connery and I finish off yabbering on. But Connery, before we do that, here's some highlights.
Yeah, it was action from pretty much start to finish today. In all honesty, we saw Quentin Guinness get himself onto pole position. He had the early advantage as well. 3 wide on the start in amongst the core cars for second place. This was the first big moment of the day, though. Miranda getting himself involved with the TTI Esports car. The TTI Esports car goes careering across the grass, and a bit of deja vu for Thomas Gibson. Another innocent situation he was involved in there. Similar sort of situation to what we saw at Phillip Island just 1 event ago. That was the send down the inside for Victor Miranda, getting 2 positions done in 1 corner, which is fantastic to see. Bits of contact going on a little bit further back, however. Of course, we saw those pit stops come in relatively early. Here was basically the rivalry of the race, Will. It was Polasek versus Golombek. Here's the view from Guman Kim of those 2 cars running each other as close as they like here. But for the rest of the event, it was this 6-car drafting train for the race lead, all trying to figure out where they want to finish at the end of this one. Polasek gave it a good go, didn't he, Will? But it ended in tears between himself and Golombek.
It did indeed. Then we've got ourselves this run towards the end of the race, and that's a wonderful look there outside of turn number 6. Polasek at this point in time was still running in P number 2. Golombek was still in 3rd place. Polasek was really keeping the pressure on towards the end of this race, and this is Golombek going around the outside. He did this so many times, trying to maneuver around drivers into turn number 1. Here's one of the contacts then with Polasek in that full send number 45 car. This is battle just going on a little bit further back. The 2 Italians running with one of the Pure Sims cars, as you see just how close they all get through the bus stop chicane. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Polasek, Golombek, they come together once down at turn number 1. This is when they got themselves Polasek down into 4th place on track. But then, wonderful aerial shot as we head ourselves towards a white flag lap. This is where you see Golombek go to the middle. Then you see yourself Harrison go to the outside, but not quite close enough. All of that maneuvering allowed Polasek to come back into play for a moment. Polasek moving from 4th up into 3rd alongside Golombek into 2nd, but then the 2 make contact, and Polasek going off then down at the International Horseshoe. Yeah, a little bit of internet racing going on there, but it will still come up under review. Towards the start-finish line, here comes Golombek looking to the outside, can't get it. And it is Quentin Guinness from France claiming victory in round number 8 of the championship, and that is how close it was at the start-finish line. So, we now have 8 rounds of the Hyundai N Festival Global League 2022 done in the books. I'm Will Vincent. That is Connery Maddock. 2 rounds of the championship to go. Hockenheim and the Red Bull Ring.
It's going to be crazy, Will. Hockenheim, fantastic circuit. Big drafting zone down into the hairpin. You can be as brave as you like on the brakes down into there. Throughout the rest of the lap, there's another couple of opportunities as well. So that one should be a fantastic race in these TCR cars. And then, of course, like you said, we head to the Red Bull Ring for our final round of the season. Gonna be a little bit of a hybrid here between sort of a Daytona style draft race and more of a race like we saw maybe at Okayama, for example. So that one's going to be very, very interesting indeed. Again, the whole championship situation, of course, it's going to be Guinness and Harrison. That's going to be the main contenders in that one. Now, we didn't expect anyone other than the British driver to be fight for the championship in the final round, especially considering how those first two events went. But it's funny how things change. Here's the Lucky Dip options, which the voting is open now. RaceSpot.TV/Lucky Dip. That is for our final race of the season. Which situation you want to impose on these drivers?
Yep, Super Bowl qualifying, where they all go out one at a time and they do one qualifying lap. A rolling star, well, we've had that again today. A dusk or night race, we've had that again here today. Or a pit lane joker lap, like what we had last time out, where you had to come on towards pit road, no service required, you just have to drive through pit lane at pit lane speed limit. RaceSpot.wtf/Lucky Dip. And that is how you can get involved. Vote for your favorite option, do a retweet, do a comment on the Twitter. You can win yourself a Hyundai remote control car. Lots of prizes to give away before we head ourselves into the final round of the championship. I can confirm, by the way, we have already got a protest in between Marius Gonenbeck and Michael Palasek. It's right there. You can probably read it if you look carefully enough. It's on the screen. The protest is in. It will be reviewed by Race Control. But Connery, before we go off there, let's very quickly think about these last two rounds of the championship. Hockenheim is great. The Red Bull Ring, I already know that we're not going to have to deal with all the white line shenanigans. A bit like at Daytona, drivers have at it. If they want to go into these secondary curbs and do all of this stuff, they can do so. But it could well come down to the final corner of the final race of the championship, because Austria, well, those last two corners, you can do a lot of pushing if you really want to.
I mean, TCR racing in a nutshell, isn't it? You can get the Chrome Hall now, of course, within the bounds of the rules. We shall have to qualify in that instance, and the drivers should know them by now as we're getting into the final event of the season. I can't wait for it. Of course, the country championship, technically has been decided at this point, unless there's an absolute catastrophic moment. I think I did double check the points, because you can score 90 points, and it was sort of around 80 something the difference between the UK and France at the end there. So France would have to score maximum, and the UK would have to score 0 points in that situation for France to be able to take the championship. But yeah, it's coming into that final round, it's going to be Drivers' Championship all the way, and I don't know who's going to come out on top between Harrison and Guinness, and potentially even Gibson if the other two have a bad day.
And of course, if both the UK drivers are out, it's pretty much going to be Quentin Guinness' championship. Yeah. Just a final thing before we go, I want to say a big thank you to our sponsors. First of all, to the Hyundai Motor Company for, of course, sanctioning and putting together this series. Also to Hankook Tyres, be one with the road will be one with you. And also to Logitech G as well. So you can see all the decent headsets, the cool headsets that the drivers have been running all season long. Thank you also to our Race Control, Ricardo Edelman, and to Randy Cheneth, to Mike Yao working behind the scenes, Hugo Louise, our executive producer. He's been Connery Maddock, I've been Will Vincent. Your time to enter your competition is now officially over, because I'm going to say those famous words, good night from Daytona.
전기차의 소음이 사라진 만큼 타이어의 소음도 사라져야 하니까.
Electrified. Hyundai Tire.